introductions. Gary Nason, local government consultant, and Jerry Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start off. I am Jerry Berry, Berry Consultants, and with me is Gary Nason, my associate. The other gentleman at the table here is Mr. Roberts, Graham Roberts, who is with Maritime Penny, the auditors for the district. Gary and I are governance experts who have 80 years experience in local government across Western Canada. And the first thing I want to clarify is that we are brought in by the UBID, not by the province. We don't work for the province, I do not represent the province, I do not speak for the province. So I think there might be some confusion about that. I just want to make that absolutely clear. Our sole mandate here tonight is to facilitate an orderly AGM so that we can meet the interests of all parties, which is to get the new board in place as soon as possible. The way the legislation is written in terms of the structure of the letters patent is until such time as there's an AGM followed by the appropriate inaugural meeting, the existing board stands. So as a result of the events of the last AGM, we've been delayed as we dealt with notice provisions to get underway. And we certainly don't want that to occur again, so that we can get underway with the inaugural and have the new trustees sworn in and the new board can proceed with their mandate. The intention is that the inaugural meeting will happen next week with the conclusion of the AGM today.
Can you speak into the mic more?
I'm so sorry. I'm hardly ever accused of being too quiet. So, I'm not sure, maybe I'll just, it's worth repeating all of that. First off, my name is Jerry Berry, believe it or not. My grandmother's name is Jerry Berry, my dad's Jerry Berry. My son's name is Christopher. We are local government consultants based on Vancouver Island with 80 years experience in local government, 80 years sitting in quiet meetings like this on beautiful Monday nights. Let's question our logic. Gary's going to act as parliamentarian tonight. We are brought in by the district, not by the province, to facilitate the AGM. Our sole mandate is to deal with the orderly conduction of the AGM so that we can get underway with the institution of the new Board of Trustees. The way the letters patent are written is that the AGM must take place followed by an inaugural meeting at which time the new trustees can be sworn in. So as a result of the events at the last meeting, without attribution, because the AGM was delayed, we're not in a position to install the new trustees, and the existing board exists until such time. So our hope is that tonight we'll have a quick and clear meeting so that we can have the inaugural meeting next week and that you can have your new board as elected installed as elected. Sorry, did you get that? Sorry, I just want to thank you very much for pointing that out. Because our sole mandate is dealing with governance, we have no technical expertise whatsoever, and we're not in a position to respond to technical questions. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. As I say, with the conclusion of tonight's meeting, it's our intention to hold another meeting next Monday to hold the inaugural, and at which time the new board will take over governance. With that, I'll turn you over to the parliamentarian for this evening, Mr. Nason.
Thanks very much, Mr. Berry. First of all, welcome to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks very much for attending this AGM. It's very much appreciated. And my role this evening will be to effectively be the whatever you want to call me, the municipal clerk, the local government clerk, the corporate officer, but basically to assist the board and guide them through the various processes and rules of order with respect to this AGM, and assist them in ensuring that appropriate resolutions and motions are adopted. First of all, just for the information of each of you folks, at the entrance there are approximately 40 printed copies of the complete agenda package, which includes the agenda, all of the staff reports, and a copy of the audited financial statements. And the auditor is here, as Jerry did indicate, and will be brief presentation on the financial statements and entertaining questions. Also, there's copies of the minutes of last year's annual general meeting, and a copy of those minutes have been provided to each of the board members. And then thirdly, there's copies of a question and answer sheet that was prepared by the staff of the Improvement District. And it's a Q&A document, and it incorporates responses to a number of questions that you folks emailed in over the past couple of weeks pertaining to business of the Improvement District. And those answers have been incorporated in the Q&A. So each of those documents is at the table, just at the front entrance here. So without further ado, Mr. Chair, item number 3 is approval of the meeting agenda for this evening. So if there's no amendments or changes or additions, we'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion, Chair.
Mr. Chair, I believe one of the trustees.
Yes. Trustee
Peter
Calder.
Chambers.
Pardon me. Trustee Calder, go ahead.
I wish to make an addition to the agenda.
That would require a motion, Mr. Chair. A motion to add an item to the agenda.
Will you please make a motion to add to the agenda?
Well, it's the dates for the AGM are missing, and they are usually put on at the AGM where we set the dates for the next year's election and AGM, and that's not on the agenda. And I'd like to point out that, I don't know if other people are with TELUS webmail, but it's been down since Friday, so I have actually not been able to read the reports until I just walked in right now. So at any rate, the AGM has, including last year, all AGMs, we set the dates for, and you're nodding, thank you. So that is missing on the agenda for tonight, so I'd like to add it under new business.
Mr. Chairman.
That's motion to approve remuneration.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I speak briefly to
Go
that
ahead.
point? Point well taken. Two things. First of all, on the TELUS webmail, I'm going through exactly the same frustration in Victoria. It's driving me crazy. It's been down since Friday.
Yeah.
So that's very much appreciated. Second point on the meeting schedule for the next ensuing year. I had spoken to the CAO about putting that item on the agenda, but we decided that that item is going to be on the agenda of the inaugural meeting next week. And I'll tell you the reason, because to the fullest extent possible, we've tried to adhere to the regulations of the letters patent, and your letters patent are very specific in regards to the nature of the items that have to be on the agenda for this evening's meeting. That is not one of them. And usually in my experience, you're absolutely correct, but in my experience, the schedule for the next year's meetings is typically something that's on an inaugural meeting agenda when the new trustees have been sworn in. So that's the reason why it's not here.
Fine, thank you. And so I'm assured that it will be on the next Monday.
Absolutely.
Thank you, great. So in that case, I have no further addition.
Thank you, Susan.
Suzanne.
Suzanne. Peter.
I made a motion that we accept the approval of the meeting as presented.
Is there a second here, Mr. Chair?
A second. All in favor? Pass unanimous.
I have another question, Chair. Where is our administrator?
Our administrator decided not to come after the last episode in the last meeting. He said, I'll give you my full report and someone else can read it. That is that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It is. Maybe we can talk about that.
Mr. Chairman, item number 4.
Item number 4, minutes for the annual general meeting held on April 19th, 2018, Fort Rock.
Mr. Chairman, typically what's required here is a motion to adopt the minutes if they're acceptable, or to make an amendment to amend the minutes if there's an omission or some matter with respect to the validity of the minutes.
I wish to make an amendment. There's a,
Mr. Chairman, is there a it would require a motion to amend the minutes, specifying what the change would be?
yes, I move to amend the minutes to include, the minutes are missing two items, and one is that at the 2018 AGM, April 19th, we had the candidates for the election speak. Now, that was an occurrence, it occurred during that meeting. It should be noted in the minutes. You know, no need to say what the candidate said, but that occurred and that is missing. Also, what occurred at that meeting and is missing is the dates of that we set the dates. Even though you've now explained that that's usually done at an inaugural meeting, and those of you who were there will recall that we did in fact set the dates for the AGM and the elections at last year's AGM. And there was a whole discussion about that, as a matter of fact, because the original proposed dates interfered with Easter. That's why I remember it so clearly. So those are two significant items that are missing from the current minutes. And they're verifiable with our recording. So I wish those to be added to the minutes as corrections.
Is there a seconder to that motion, Mr. Chair?
Wow. I'd like to know on what basis there is no seconder. I think that's only reasonable. So just simply denying reality is acceptable?
Well, Mr. Chair, I can't speak to the accuracy of the minutes because I wasn't in the meeting. Ordinarily, something like that, candidates speaking at the AGM or the item of the dates of the next ensuing year.
Does anybody recall? I recall. Anybody else?
Well, Mr. Chairman, if there's no seconder to the motion, then we should move on with all due respect. It's something that you could refer for further discussion to the inaugural meeting. That would require a motion.
At the very least, I would like a recording of what's just transpired, that the motion failed and that the recommendation was. Can this not be recorded as the minutes, seeing as our administrator did not show up? Who's going to actually write these minutes?
Well, we are taking detailed notes of the proceedings, Mr. Chairman, and the meeting is being recorded. And I can certainly make reference to the fact that you did speak to the absence of these two items,
Yes.
but that there was no seconder to the motion to amend the minutes.
And therefore, since I have witnesses who agree with me, I think it is only reasonable that these minutes be brought up at the inaugural meeting. It's only fair. This is the landowners' meeting. If somebody would like to make, somebody from the floor can second my motion, actually.
Mr. Chairman, with respect, no. Somebody from the floor cannot second the motion of a trustee. But what I
At a
can...
landowners' meeting, sorry, at an AGM they cannot, I believe. I do not.
Not in my experience, Mr. Chairman. That a seconder to a motion would have to be done by one of the current trustees at the table.
So,
What I can do is I can record your observation that there were two items missing from the minutes.
okay.
And I can, if you wish, there can be a motion which would require a seconder to refer these items for further discussion to the inaugural meeting.
Okay.
And then I would entertain a motion to defer adoption of the minutes if that's what you wish to do
Okay.
until a future date.
Yeah, let's proceed with that.
Okay,
So first item, Mr. Chairman, would be a motion to refer the items that the trustee has just spoken
that
about
is correct.
to the inaugural.
Trustee Calder, can you please make a motion to that effect?
I make a motion to refer the adoption of the minutes of the last year's AGM to the inaugural meeting.
Do you have a
Second.
Jay.
No seconder to the motion, Mr. Chairman, so then the next motion would be to consider adoption of the minutes.
Okay. Okay. Minutes of the annual general meeting held April 19th, 2018 for adoption. Will someone please make a motion to adopt these minutes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes of the annual general meeting held on April 19th, 2018, that they be adopted as presented.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Opposed? And may I have my opposition recorded? Thank you.
Reports.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is item number 5. There are 5 reports under this particular item. The first one is the chairperson's report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give you my report, and this is how it goes. First of all, I wish to thank everyone for attending the AGM this evening. There are a number of milestones that have been faced and addressed over the last year. Number 1, the mainland development, as I say, the mandated development, the construction of a water treatment plant to service our community with the safe and cleanest drinking water all year round. Number 2, all approvals for construction completed from both Vancouver Island Health and the Comox Valley Regional District. Number 3, completion of ground preparing by Edge Excavating. Number 4, the tender bid awarded to Ridgeline Mechanical, a local Comox Valley contractor, to work to begin this month of June 2019. Number 5, change over to iCity software from Ridgewater and Sage County in June of 2018. The Ridgewater system was no longer being supported by the program developer and was unstable and losing data. iCity is an integrated software package that covers water meter reading and financial statements. And number 6, the completed source-to-tap assessment to meet Vancouver Island Health Authority requirements. Number 7, the ongoing process of rebuilding our fire department for the future of Union Bay and to support the direction needed by our firefighters. I wish to thank the UBID staff for their hard work training on this iCity software, which is very different from the Right Water system. I also wish to express my thanks to our Superintendent of Water and his crew for their everyday work on our water system. The CAO Mason, who has helped bring our mandated filtration plant into reality through his ability to work with Corps Engineering, along with Vancouver Island Health and the Comox Valley Regional District. The countless meetings you attended and brought forward the information to the Board of Trustees was well documented for approvals. to say thank you is just not enough for the work you do each day. My final thank you goes to the trustees and chairmen and women who gave of themselves over the years to make a better community. Those who served as trustees made decisions that over the years helped us today meet the challenge to build our new filtration plant. I welcome the newly elected trustees, Paul Haley and Hein Vanderberg, who will be made trustees taking the oath of office on the 10th of June 2019. Paul is in France, but will be sworn in on his return on the 1st of July. Hein, thank you very much for becoming a trustee. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ordinarily, there would be a motion now to receive the chairman's report.
I so move.
Second.
Question, Mr. Chairman?
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number B under reports, Mr. Chairman, is the Chief Administrative Officer's report. I understand that it is your practice to have each of the staff reports read out. So I'm happy to read out the CAO's report. It's dated April 24th, addressed to the Board of Trustees from CAO Gordon Mason. There's a number of items which are covered in the report. First item is Coors Engineering. My apologies if I haven't pronounced it correctly. We continue to work with Coors Engineering regarding the project management of the water treatment plant. The tentative project schedule is as follows. Site preparation construction complete. Island Health construction permit complete. CVRD building permit application complete. RDC financing application complete. WTP construction contract has been awarded to Ridgeline Mechanical, a local Comox Valley contractor, for the sum of $4,242,266. Contractor mobilization estimated to take place in the months of May and June. Start construction June of this year. Estimated construction completed in late 2019 or early 2020. Second item under the CAO's report is iCity Vadim software. We converted to the iCity software from Ridgewater and Sage Accounting in June 2018. Wrightwater was no longer being supported by the program developer and was unstable and losing data. iCity is an integrated software package that covers water meter reading to financial statements. iCity is a developed and supported financial ERP system designed specifically for the public sector and incorporates more than 40 years of insight and customer experience as well as input. We appreciate the landowner's patience and understanding during the conversion from Wrightwater to iCity and the associated challenges that have occurred during this transition period. Third item under the CAO's report is source to tap assessment. Sonia Jensen from, quote, Water Women Consulting, unquote, has been hired to work with Union Bay Improvement District staff, the Vancouver Island Health Authority, and local stakeholders to create a water system assessment, source to tap, to meet health authority requirements. This plan has been approved by Island Health and the report has been released to the landowners. Next item, turbidity information. Turbidity is a natural occurrence and indication of activity in the watershed. Heavy rainstorms can stir up the lake, elk, and create turbidity plumes by walking through a tributary. Road activity, driving off-road vehicles can all lead to a situation where the turbidity level rises in Langley Lake. Turbidity levels rise in the fall and winter and decrease by the late spring and remain low throughout the summer. Recent changes to acceptable levels of turbidity now require that raw water has a turbidity reading of 1 NTU, nepolometric units or less. If the reading is over 1 NTU, the improvement district will contact the drinking water officer and adhere to the required steps as outlined in the emergency response plan and follow the turbidity response flowchart. A decision is made between the health officials and UBID as to whether or not public notice is necessary. Next item, turbidity testing. Our water quality is continuously tested by water main meters. If turbidity readings are rising, physical samples are taken to the lab as required to meet health authorities' guidelines. This can be once a day or several times a day if required until the turbidity readings normalize. Signing up for updates to the website is another way to receive the most up-to-date information about water quality. You can sign up by going to www.unionbay.ca and filling out your name and email address under subscribe to updates via email. Next item, UBID land activities. Union Bay Improvement District has one remaining piece of land that is currently being sold as follows. Highway property, Island Timberlands, has been given first right of refusal for the approximate 10 hectares of land by Highway 19 and McLeod Road, as per the Improvement District's purchase agreement. Majestic Forest Products has agreed to purchase the property for the original purchase price of $203,000, and this should take place in the next couple of months. Final item, fire department update. With the departure of our fire chief, the following volunteer firefighters have stepped up to support the Union Bay Fire Department in leadership positions. Additionally, I would like to thank all the Union Bay Improvement District volunteer firefighters for their dedication and support during this time of transition to the department. Ian Ham, the fire chief, and Kevin McGregor, the duty officer, have accepted interim positions for 2 to 3 months until the new fire chief is hired. A reminder that we are looking for more volunteer firefighters. If you are interested, please contact Ian Ham, the Union Bay Improvement District Fire Chief at 250-335-335-2345 or by email at firechief@unionbay.ca. This concludes the CAO's report, Mr. Chairman. And we can entertain a motion now or on new business to receive the CAO's report, or if there's any questions on the report or any motions arising from the report. Now is the time to entertain those.
Okay. Someone please make a motion to accept the CAO's report.
I so move.
I second it.
All in favor? It's passed.
Mr. Chairman, the next item under reports is the Public Works report.
Pass me.
There you go.
So this is the annual report, so it's important that we read this out. Can everybody hear me? Annual General Meeting Public Works Report, April 2019. 2018 year was a busy one for Union Bay Improvement District, and one that brought us a new challenge that we've never had before. Between November 23rd to 27th, there was 130 millimeters of rain that fell into the watershed and raised the lake 19 centimeters. The turbidity was on a slow rise, and a boil water advisory was issued December 15th and lasted until April 9th, 2019. This was initiated as the turbidity in Langley Lake was trending upwards, and it exceeded the limit set by VDOT of 1 nepolometric turbidity. Never seen that word before. Anyway, turbidity unit and NTU. The advisory would remain in effect until till the treated water was trending under 1 NTU. The entire time of the boil notice, the UBID Public Works staff stepped up sampling on the water distribution system for total chloroforms, E. coli. All water samples were negative in the distribution system. The chlorine and turbidity were also being analyzed 24/7 for any interruptions in quality or failure in the treatment process. The water passed all bacteria sampling as the turbidity climbed over 1 NTU and up to the highest point of 1.64 NTU in the finished water. The water passed all the tests under the boil water notice, but it was still above the VHOG mandate, and the boil notice had to stay in place until the water met the criteria set by VHOG. The emergency response plan was also updated in 2018. This year also had another long, hot, smoky summer without much rain, and Langley Lake did very well with reservoir levels. At the lowest point, the lake level dropped to 59 centimeters below the spillway and 5 centimeters above stage 2 water restrictions going into effect. Every year, stage 1 restrictions are mandatory in the summer, but we have not had to go to stage 2 since the water meters were installed in 2004. UBID was very lucky to have a donation of a new log boom sticks and chains to replace the original boom from 1976 from Mike Hamilton. This was a savings of approximately $6,000 to UBID. 2018 also brought the Public Works its fair share of repairs to the water system, and with the aging infrastructure, there will be many more to come. There are 8 major leaks that would require a vacuum truck, gravel delivery, moles under the road, and excavator rentals. These large leaks are mostly the failure of direct tap corporation stops into the asbestos cement water mains. There was one failure of the 8-inch AC main as a semi-circular crack had developed due to settling. These large leaks often require the isolation of water mains and service to multiple households interrupted for sometimes a few hours. There was also 5 minor repairs due to small leaks on the water service and its apparatuses. These leaks are often repaired by hand digging in short service interruptions. A source to tap review was completed of the water system supply for the UBID and identified risks to the system and the next steps for ensuring a safe water supply system in compliance with regulatory standards and guidelines. Challenges to this water system include aging infrastructure, water source contamination, and extreme drought. Overall, this plan is intended to guide future steps to mitigate risks to the water supply system in Union Bay. Last year also saw 6 new services and houses being built in Union Bay. This is a little more than usual and nice to see people investing in our community. These services usually require the use of a large air compressor and a mole to go under the roads without removing asphalt. As everybody knows, the new water treatment plant is underway. This will be a well-deserved capital addition for Union Bay and will provide the best quality water to the residents. It will meet VHOG's 4321 water quality objectives and see improvements in pH, color, removal of organics, and the reduction of chlorination byproducts. All surface water contains natural organic compounds. These compounds come from decaying vegetation and are primarily humic and fulvic acids. With the addition of chlorine, these organic compounds react and produce complex chloroorganic compounds known as, what is the real dictionary? As tribomethanes, THMs. Ensuring that the watershed is closed to recreational activity is one way to mitigate source contamination. Upgrades to the treatment process will further increase the robustness of the system by introducing new treatment process in compliance with the surface water treatment objectives that are under the direction of Island Health. This plant will require qualified water treatment operators and adding training through the year to remain in good status with the regulatory authorities. Staff have already been certified in water plant treatment operations, and others are working towards certification for 2019. There was a total of 210,744 cubic meters, or 46,363,680 gallons of water treated for consumption this year, with the highest day of use being July 18th, using 863 cubic meters, or 198,860 gallons, and the lowest day use being December 3rd, using 242 cubic meters, or 53,240 gallons. Total water license of water from the lake is 647,363 cubic meters. We're using 1/3 of the current allowable license. I would like to thank the trustees, office staff, Sonia Jensen, Water One Consulting, and Public Works crew staff for all the dedication to the waterworks system over the last year. Respectively submitted, Dan Gill, UBID Public Works Superintendent.
So, Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions from the trustees on the report from the Public Works Superintendent, there is a question, Mr. Chairman?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
First of all, I really appreciate the thoroughness of this water report from Public Works, Dan Gill.
Can you use the microphone, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Is that working now?
Yeah.
Okay, so very thorough report, and the whole process of the boil water notice and the NTUs is all new, relatively new to Union Bay, and it is very important that we understand what's at stake. I just want to clarify the section where it's referenced that the VHA had changed recently, I think the word was recently, changed the rules about the NTUs. The rules, the turbidity tree was actually changed in 2013, and VHA presented that to the board. At every meeting we attended, what was different was VHA finally enforced it in August of 2018. So the need for boiling water, whenever the measurements go above 1.0 NTU, has been in place for all water treatment, for all potable water throughout the whole province. But our local VHA did not enforce it. So that's an important note, that it is not a new rule, was newly enforced. It is also important to note that every winter, as is kind of alluded to in this report, every winter, historically, Union Bay has gone above 1.0 NTU. So it is never a bad idea to boil your water during the winter, is all I want to say. It is not a new issue, the fact that it's above 1.0 NTU, but what's new is it's now being enforced. So that's an important point to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if there are any further questions on the Public Works Superintendent report? If not, a motion to approve or motions arising from that report.
Any other questions? Okay, then.
I make a motion
to approve.
I second.
The report is read.
Okay, Susan second.
Is that a second?
Susanna, second.
Thank you.
All in favor? It's passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item under reports is the report from the Fire Rescue Services.
In Glenn's absence, I'll read this report. Union Bay Fire Rescue Annual Report 2018-2019. Mission Statement. The Union Bay Fire Rescue is committed to providing professional, efficient, and effective services to all residents and visitors of Union Bay. Our mission will be accomplished through training, education, and fire prevention. When called upon, we will provide a professional response to an emergency, attempt to minimize loss of life and property from fire or disaster, show compassion for those involved, be committed to protection of the environment. Major accomplishments. A shift in the department operational model recently occurred. The historical model assumed that the fire chief would provide pager coverage Sunday 6 p.m. until Friday 6 p.m., approximately 120 consecutive hours every week. The current model has separated pager coverage from the administrative fire chief responsibilities, allowing for funds to be redirected to schedule 24-hour-per-day pager coverage. This new model provides a sustainable pager schedule, increasing in town, day, and night coverage. The department has purchased a new duty vehicle. It's a 2019 Ford Explorer. Membership enrollment is on the rise with 4 new recruits starting the MFPA 1001 Firefighter Professional Qualification and the First Responder Training Program. A firefighter has recently completed the required courses for promotion to lieutenant and entrance into the NFPA 1021 Fire Officer Professional Qualifications. Future initiatives. The sustainability of the department requires that focus remains on increasing recruitment and training for members. Increasing officer corps also requires attention, as the department is currently operating with 4 officers out of the required 7. The department is excited to continue to participate with the development of a new fire hall. The department recognizes that there may be a governance review for Union Bay, and as such, the department will need to allocate time for participation in this review. Public education and community safety. The department allocates resources and time to increase the Union Bay community's fire education and prevention initiatives. The Fire Prevention Week was held October 7th to 13th, 2018. The main event of the week was an open house at the hall. Members of the community are encouraged to stop by to learn about fire safety and enjoy a free barbecue. Occupational Health and Safety Committee. The Union Bay Fire Rescue operates an Occupational Health and Safety Committee under the guidance of the Deputy Fire Chief as chair. The committee meetings are held on a regular basis and or as required. Concerns can be brought forward to the committee as issues arise or through the monthly department meetings. The committee works with the fire chief to ensure that concerns are discussed and addressed. Membership. Union Bay Fire Rescue consists of a total of 16 members. Currently, there are 4 officers enrolled in the NFPA 1021 program. A 5th member is soon to be promoted to lieutenant. They have completed the NFPA 1001 program, completed the required courses for promotion, and also will be enrolled in the NFPA 1021 program. In addition, 4 new recruits have started training towards the NFPA 1001 program, starting with the Response Ready program. They will also be concurrently enrolled in the First Responder program. Officers, this report is from Officers Acting Fire Chief Ian Hand and Acting Deputy Chief Kevin McGregor. Oh, there's another page. I guess this is just statistics here. Captain Training Officer Dorothy Rainey, Lieutenant Sandy Pridmore, firefighters, Reed Bugis. Thanks, Peter. Susan Hargraves, Rob Hollins, Robert Jeffrey, Travis Meffin, Chris Prius, Nick Webb, Peter Warren. Probationary members, Jim Hargraves, Paul Hebert, Jeff Martin, Alexis Royer. Awards, recognitions, and retirements. Firefighter of the Year Award 2018 was awarded to Chris Prius. Nick Webb was recognized for years of service. Mark Jackson retired from the department. Call volume summary. The department responded to 77 incidents from April 1st, 2018 to April 22nd, 2019. Incident category, first responder, number of calls 37, no further action. Incident category, alarm activation, number of calls 4. Incident category, hydro trouble, number of calls 6. Ambulance delay, number of calls 2. Motor vehicle incidents 16. Duty officer investigations 9. Beach brush emergencies 1. Structure 2. Fire response statistics, total time worked 110.85. I don't know what that is. It's hours or what? Wait, no. Average time on calls 1.4. Total number of responders 11. Average number of responders 3.5. So that completes the fire department.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Rick, I have a question regarding the fire report. I know that you were on the fire committee, although there's never been a meeting. I'm curious about the, first of all, this microphone? Oh, gosh, yeah. First of all, I'm very impressed with the fire. This is a different type of fire report than our previous ones, so I'm very impressed with the report. However, it's interesting to note in the first paragraph about the shift change. And my question is, this shift change, was that something that the previous fire chief was not willing to look at? Clearly, it was a burning issue. This is to you, Rick.
I can't answer questions about the fire department. I read the report. I can't answer questions, Suzanne. It's not within my scope.
You're the chair of
That
the
question
fire
should be
committee.
addressed to the fire chief, acting fire chief.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chair, we can certainly record that question and certainly bring that to the attention of the CAO for a response.
Yes, that absolutely can be addressed and give you an answer to that.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Any further questions on the report from the Fire Services branch? If not, Mr. Chair, a motion to receive and approve.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
All in favor? And it's passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final item under reports are the audited annual financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2018. This is a statutory mandatory requirement at the under the letters patent that this document be received and presented, and that there be an opportunity for any questions to the auditor. So I will ask the auditor, who is in attendance this evening, Graham Roberts from MNP LLP, to overview his report.
Thank you, Graham.
Hi there, guys. Can you hear me? Okay. So yeah, first of all, the audit report was it's a clean audit report. So that basically means that in all material respects, it's not mistakes or corrections. But yeah. So materiality is an audit word, so we don't guarantee. Okay, sorry. So audit report is based on materiality. We do not sample everything. We test on a test basis based on materiality. So we done our testing and it's a clean audit report, so there's no material errors repairs that we're aware of in the financial statements. So I'm going to jump into the statement of financial position. So that's what some people call a balance sheet. So if you look at cash and investments,
What page?
page 1.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a bunch of numbers on the page. Page 1. So cash and investments, I'm going to group them together. So it's up about 90,000 from the previous year. So you're just over 3 million this year, those two amounts, and last year was at 2.9. Accounts receivable, that's gone up primarily due to GST receivable due to the new capital for the water treatment plant, so the pre-costs and that. Land held for sale, so one property was sold subsequent to year end, the other property hasn't, I think it's been signed off, but the cash hasn't been received, so that was in your tangible capital assets previously, but because there are plans at year end to sell them, we reclassify them as land held for resale. Accounts payable, so a big increase in that is again due to startup costs with the water treatment plant and also some timing issues with payroll. Prior payroll was actually paid out December 31st. This year, for employees that are working, they worked up to December 31st, and that didn't get paid until the first Friday of January. So there's an increase there as well. Deferred revenue, 100,000 of that is from the province for their property tax assessment. And so that's sort of your finance assets and liabilities. So then big number at the bottom there, your tangible capital assets, so those numbers have increased, and that's primarily again due to the water treatment plant, and also as noted with the fire report, the new truck for the fire department. So I'm going to jump on to the next page. So this is your income statement. So revenues are in total very consistent with prior years and also budget. One number that sort of stands out there is contributed capital tangible assets. So that's a land that was acquired as part of for the new water treatment. So that was given to the improvement district, but for accounting purposes, we need to record that at fair value. So that shows up as a revenue, and the offset to that revenue is setting up the asset. Expenses, again, very consistent year over year. Again, as so is noted in the public works, there was more repairs and maintenance this year to the water plant. So that's sort of the big expense that's increased. Training costs were up a little bit, but that's part of the new iCity data software as well. So at the end of the revenue last year, expenses, there's a surplus in the current year of $359,406. So that increases the overall surplus of the district to $7,550,000. So that's a big number. So I think what I'll do, I'll jump into one of the notes to go over what makes up that component of that number. So on page 9, which is note 7 to the financial statements, this is sort of shows where that $7.5 million is sort of allocated. So in the operating funds, that's just sort of general operations, there's a surplus in there of $448,000. Then you have some internally restricted funds, so funds that the board can use at their discretion through motion and all that. So that's been building up for the water treatment plant and also the fire reserve. So you can see the water is up just under $1 million, and the fire renewal is almost $1.3 million. So that's $2.5 million. So it's sort of money that's in the bank, that's sort of reserved for future expenditure. And so the non-statutory reserves, again, board motion stuff, is the sort of money that the board has put aside for future expenditures. And so what's really holding up the most part of that $7.5 million is what's invested in the infrastructure, being the water infrastructure, which is almost $4.2 million, and also a little bit of in the fire as well. Just going to quickly go over a couple of the other notes in the financial statements. I think, yeah, that's my short presentation. Open to questions.
I have a question. I have a question for the auditor. Thank you. You mentioned, you referenced, we have a second parcel of land, which is correct. And my question to you is, where would the appropriate place be should we decide not to sell that land? Where does it then go back to the capital? You mentioned it's now in the land for sale, and where was it before?
The land before was part of your tangible capital assets.
Right,
Because it was a motion to sell the properties.
yes.
We moved about that tangible capital assets and disposed it separately as land held for resale.
Yeah, and should the board make a motion to change their mind on that, does it then just go back to capital assets? How do we,
Yes, well, there's one's been sold, and one I
and
think
one is not sold?
I think one is in the process of closing right now.
That's not what I've heard, but let's, hypothetically, let's just say that deal falls through, does it go back to capital assets?
What the intention of the board would be.
Right, it could no longer, I'm just saying accounting-wise, it couldn't stay in the land for sale, it would have to go somewhere else.
We'd go back into tangible capital
Yes,
assets.
thank you, thanks.
Now, does the auditor have anything else to say on this report?
If you have any further questions, I could provide some other highlights if you like.
I would like the public to ask you questions now regarding the audit. Anyone who's in the public, and they please ask the auditor if they have any questions. Mary?
Tell me where in these papers it shows delinquent water bills?
That'll be in your accounts receivable. So that's note 3, page 7. So basically the receivables that are there, so the GST receivable, I talked about that. So the first number is basically your water and your parcel tax receivables. The thing to note there is your November and December usage gets actually billed to you in January, so it's that month, that peak, that billing cycle is always going to be outstanding, so that's about $60,000. So yeah, the makeup of water is about 75,000 outstanding, but 60 of that is just been billed, so it's about 15,000 that's actually outstanding overdue. And parcel tax outstanding is about 40,000.
And what line, where's the parcel tax line?
It's all, I was giving you additional detail there in the trade receivable for the $115,000 in note 3.
Okay, could you give those numbers to me again, please? The breakdown of the accounts receivable, or sorry,
So the water tolls, I'm rounding here,
yeah,
is $75,000,
okay,
of which 60,000 is current because it's billed after the year end.
got it, yeah,
So there's really 15,000 that's arrears,
right.
and 40,000 of property tax.
40,000 of the parcel taxes.
Yeah.
Oh dear, okay, thank you. In future, is it possible to pull those out for us in subsequent reports, or is it always just standard like this?
That's something we can do going forward. That's what the board wants. Previously, that was hard for us to do with the old right water system, but with the new system, those numbers are easier for us to pull out.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm not sure I can phrase the question properly, but the question in my mind is that we have received some information about the amount that our water rate and parcel tax will increase as a result of the water treatment. It doesn't appear in my world, at any rate, that the maintenance and repairs to the system are factored into the increase of parcel tax or water rate. Now, I don't know how to address that in all of these statements.
So what you're talking about is sort of budget versus actual, right? So I'm reporting on what actually happened last year. You're kind of looking more forward looking, so I'm not involved in the budgeting process, so I can't answer that question.
Mr. Chairman, that's certainly a question that we can record and forward to the Chief Administrative Officer to bring that to his attention for those
Please.
things.
That was a good question, thank you. Person time.
My question is with respect to the parcel tax. You had sort of clarified on the water that 15,000 was the true in arrear. Out of the parcel tax, is that all recovered? Is that just a timing delay, or is that a loss?
It's all arrears. It's not, it's, well, I guess you have the current years, but I think you guys get assessed your parcel tax at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, those are all arrears. I think part of the system, when they switched to the iCity, they got that number better. I think the historic thought was we had lots of water tolls that were arrears, but it's actually $15,000. The arrears are actually the property taxes. So I think the board will be probably looking at ways to recouping that. There are mechanisms available to improvement districts to recoup those amounts.
So it's not a loss, it's recoupable.
Sorry, I can add to that. It was actually over 60,000 last year.
She's
So,
speaking for you, or
recouping,
who's she speaking for?
No,
I think 60 was both last year.
yeah, so we are in the process of recouping these arrears using the very method that the accountant referred to. And that's why I'm asking that they be teased out, because it's very important to understand where they are coming from. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have a question?
Further question from the public, Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead.
Yes, I'm not a money person, but it's a practice to take so much money from our parcel tax each year and put it into the capital fund for water and the capital fund for the fire department. And in the past, some of the money from the fire department was used to purchase the school. The school was sold. I don't know if that money ever went back into our capital assets. But how much each year is allotted for each one of those fire and water? Like, is there a percentage of the parcel tax, or what? How is that figured out?
So if you look at page 13, yeah, parcel tax typically gets transferred into your water renewal fund. That's typically what happens, but it's not a guarantee. It was actually done as part of the budget process. So at the just before the sum in the bottom, if you look under water restricted renewal fund, that column, you see $293,483. So that was a transfer into the waterfront fund from the operating fund, and that was a result of the property taxes, and that was done as, when the budget was adopted, that was the transfer into that, from the operating fund into the renewal fund.
Sorry, where is
What
this
about
from?
the fire department?
The fire department is the number beside it, which is $176,764. So those two numbers were transferred from the operating into those two funds as part of the adopting of the budget, which included your rates.
Just to make sure that they can't take from one person, from Peter to pay Paul.
That's
Paul
correct.
needs the money more.
There are two different tax revenues, so you cannot take one from the other. One is a regional district tax, and one is a UBID tax.
Okay,
So they're totally separate.
thank you.
Are there any other questions for the auditor? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further questions from the members of the public, any further questions from the board to the auditor with respect to the financial statements and its report?
any questions?
No, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Peter?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further questions, then a motion to accept and approve the audited financial statements and the auditor's report.
So move.
Do we have a
Seconded.
second? Seconded?
Seconded.
All in favor? And passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item is new business. Item number A under new business are motions to approve the various reports, including yourself, the CAO, the Public Works, and Fire Rescue Services. Those, in effect, were done in the previous section. The next motion is, and this is arising from the letters patent requirement. There is a requirement that at the AGM annually there be a motion to appoint the auditors for the next ensuing year. So, subject to the board's approval, it would be in order to approve a motion to appoint the auditors, Graham Roberts and NP LLP, for the auditing purposes for 2019.
I so move.
Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
No questions? All in favor? It's passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The item number C under new business, this also is a requirement under the letters patent as originally drafted, that at each annual general meeting there be a motion to approve the remuneration for trustees for the year. And I understand from the CAO that this matter has previously, was fairly recently discussed. There were no changes to the remuneration, but in order to ensure that to the fullest extent possible you adhere to the letters patent requirements, we would recommend a motion to approve the 2019 and 20 trustee remuneration at the same level as 2018-2019.
Can I have a trustee make a motion, please?
I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded, all in favor? It's passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final section is landowner questions. Now, we put them in two categories, basically, written and from the floor. The first category A are, we understand that there were several email questions that were sent to the Improvement District office over the past couple of weeks. And the CAO has advised me that responses to those questions have been incorporated into the Q&A document, which has been prepared, which has been provided to each member of the board, as well as a number of additional copies are available for the public's perusal at the table at the front. So those are written responses to questions that were emailed in over the past couple of weeks after the notice of this AGM, and also a number of answers to frequently asked questions. The second category is, as reflected in the call to order, all landowner questions at the end of the meeting. Mr. Chairman, now would be an appropriate time, subject to the board's approval, to entertain questions from the members of the public, questions from the floor. Now, you will appreciate, of course, that Mr. Berry and myself are not staff members of the Improvement District, so we'll not be in a position to answer those questions in virtually all cases, I'm assuming. But we will dutifully record those questions unless they can be answered by a trustee, and we'll ensure that those are directed to the attention of staff for response or referral to a future meeting so that they're responded to. So, Mr. Chairman, if you wish, it would be at this point in time fitting to open the floor to any questions from the public.
Okay. I'm going to open questions from the public, be directed to the board. Can't promise we can answer your questions, but we can record them and get back to you to make sure that these questions are answered for you as best as possible by the staff. Okay, Mary?
Yes, I'm disappointed that the CAO isn't here because last year the same thing happened. He wasn't able to answer financial questions. And there's many financial questions I have that the auditor can't answer. So what I'd like to ask you is, can you direct me where I can locate the authority that you have to make unilateral decisions as chair, close meetings, things like that? Where can I find that you are allowed to do that?
Be able to find them under Robert's rules.
No, it's not under Robert's rules.
Well, good luck then.
No, I'd like to correct you. You're not really qualified for Robert's rules. Because you have to be able, even with these guys here, you're having a hell of a time trying to run a meeting. And it's unacceptable. You're the worst board that we ever had.
Are you happy now, Mary, or are you
No,
finished?
I'm not happy until I see that you're gone. That's when I'll be happy.
Is that a question? Are you guys facilitating?
I asked the question, where can I locate that? He said it's Robert's rules. So that's it. Why are you speaking up? This is the guy
Because
who keeps
actually,
interrupting at meetings.
Mary,
You weren't recognized by the chair.
this format here
You
is
weren't
supposed to,
recognized by the chair.
Mr. Chairman.
okay, you spoke to me and I'll respond.
Out of order.
This meeting here is for the general public.
Point of order.
To ask
I
questions
stand
of
on a point
everybody.
of order. This gentleman has not been recognized by the chair.
Mr.
Point of
Chairman,
order.
I would respectfully ask members of the public to please phrase a question. And I'm sure that the trustees, if they're in a position to answer it, will make their best efforts. Certainly we'll make our best efforts to record the question and absolutely ensure that it is followed up on and responded to. But we would request respectfully the cooperation of the public in getting us through this meeting, and certainly we're happy to entertain questions and sit here as long as that takes.
Thank you. Sir.
My question is, and again, thanks again for the work that everybody has done. It's very positive to see that we have, are moving along to the water treatment plant and other things that have been accomplished. I just want a point of clarification. I've been a member of the Public Works Committee a number of years ago, and the cost of the water treatment plant is significantly less than what it currently is. And just as a point of clarification, I'd like to understand what size is the current water treatment plant being built for in terms of the units? And I know KIP are potentially going to add significantly and will handle expansion, but I'd just like to understand what the 4.2 million includes or cover.
Well, I think I can best answer that question is that this plant is adequate to cover all of us who are on this system at this time, plus a great number more in the future. Again, after the building of Union Bay Estates commences, after a certain amount of doors are open, in other words, houses are built, then it is all reviewed again to make sure that our system can accommodate it and that our letters patent as well can accommodate. If not, then work will halt until it occurs that our letters patent is increased and that our lake can handle it. There are a lot of safeguards that are put in there to make sure that our water system is not going to be overtaxed by overbuilding.
I appreciate that, but right now we have currently 690. I'd just like to know what number of homes we're covering in the 4.2 million. And you don't have to answer that right now, you can give me the answer.
The 4.2 million is basically what is required for the existing landowners of Union Bay. That was how, where this information is quite clear is in the potable water agreement, which should be on Union Bay's website. It was on Union Bay's website, where it makes clear that the developer has been given approval of 100, and I'm going from memory now, so please, 100 homes. So the answer to your question is we have 790 households plus 100, okay? Then he is responsible, and that's in the potable water agreement, for the upsizing costs, because he's proposing the development as being upwards of 3,000. So clearly that we need a relook at that point. Does that answer it a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's 690 in terms of what's in your report.
Yeah.
So it'll cover, for argument's sake, 800 units.
Yeah, and then the drawing is in your packet there.
I can answer that more mathematically, where the treatment plant that we're putting in is rated for 14 liters per second. Our license allows us to go to 28 liters per second, so we're going halfway with it. Our highest usage, I believe, last year was 8 liters per second. So we're nowhere near the maximum capacity of the treatment plant. So it's being done in a modular state where we're doing, and actually it would probably treat up to twice as many households as we have now with the meters at 14 liters per second. Again, our highest usage was 8 liters per second.
If I could add, Mr. Chair, sir, we also, the construction of this plant, they're taking into account that we can, at some point in the future, or perhaps not, accommodate another similar unit.
Right, the building is built for 2 units.
That's correct, yes. Yeah, we're starting out with 1.
And the treatment plant cost, when you say it's a lot more, but we're also doing a reservoir as well.
Correct. So that wasn't in the previous scope. Right.
And I just want to say probably one of the smartest things that Union Bay ever did in terms of water conservation, especially given the drought years, and this is the future, folks. We're in drought right now, is to have heated water. Honest to goodness, that has saved Union Bay. Not only that, but it identified so many leaks for us. So I'm very proud of Union Bay for having, a lot of jurisdictions have struggled to get that done because nobody wants it, and it has saved us big time. It was a very smart move.
Yes, go ahead.
Given the dryness and the potential for forest fires, any kind of source in the near future, is there a response plan for the region that involves Union Bay? And also, I face it every day when I take the dog out for a pee, is that if we get a forest fire in the back of our property, we could lose our house. So, I mean, it's serious stuff. We need to have a plan. So do we have a plan?
Well, it could be more like a regional strategy, I would think, integrated with all the fire companies, and our fire improvement district fire department as well. But I'm not aware of it. but we can find out for sure because we're probably all interested to know. I'm sure there is a regional strategy where they're all working together on the plan.
I think we should make people aware
Yes.
of where we are in relation to that.
And I just want to say, as a homeowner, one of the, we're fortunate to live in a beautiful area surrounded, many of us have large trees on our property. I have them. Keeping your gutters clear, the fires that burn, the trees burn, but it's the stuff in the gutters that lights, and that's what sets the houses off. So one of the simplest things we can do as homeowners is keeping your gutters clean, just in terms of fire prevention. You're right, it's a very serious issue, and I think we're so used to thinking of this area as being a rainforest, a temperate rainforest, but those days are long gone.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in your report, you mentioned that the financing was in place now with the Royal Bank. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell me at what meeting the board approved removing money from the restricted capital reserve fund to contribute towards the cost of the water plant? Which meeting was that done?
That was the last meeting that we had, and also
Last meeting, last public
Yes.
meeting, last,
23rd.
uh,
Yes, that would have been April.
That meeting was canceled, it never happened, the 23rd. It happened on March 15th.
In March.
so I had never seen that reported up to the public in any
Well, we'll make
minutes.
sure that you get it, but also, because this is mandatory for Vancouver Island Health, we have no choice in this matter.
I understand that, but as your auditor has said, that's a restricted reserve fund that requires not only a motion by the board, but also a bylaw to withdraw money from that fund. I just wondered if that's been done.
As far as I know, that has been done.
That has been done, the bylaw?
As far as I know, that has been done, yes.
Okay, I would like to see that report about the public, so it's on the website, a copy of that bylaw, please.
I think it was posted, but if not, Mr. Elliott, I'll make sure that you get it.
That's gonna be everybody. Yeah, on the website. On the website. The bylaw.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, regardless of previous comments, I think we need to be mentioning it again. That board that is in place now and will be changing soon has done a fantastic job on our behalf, on all our behalf. And I think we need to remind them that we are thankful for what you have done.
Thank you.
I have a fire question.
Yes.
I noticed in the paper that Comox Fire Department is offering, I don't know what to call them, sprinklers for your roof in case of wildfire. And I was wondering if Union Bay might consider that to the fire department.
That's a good question. I never knew this, but we'll definitely talk to the fire department about this. Thank you.
It's fairly costly, I've looked into it, it's like $100 and something bucks. It's fairly costly, it's $100 and something, 60 bucks.
You bought them yourself
From the Comox Fire Department, I looked into it last
The
year.
other concern too is, like you said, big tall trees
Yeah.
are close to your house, but you don't own them. You
Yeah.
belong to the neighbor.
Yeah.
And that's another huge concern for me. I would like not to have any, but I'm not people will cut them down, and I can't do that. You get it for long. So I just wondered if there's an avenue for that, I don't know.
You could contact the
There's a
regional
big
district.
forest road between me and my neighbor.
Any other questions? Yes.
improvement by the World Bank, I guess it is. Is it
Yeah.
still, are you still borrowing on portions that you need as you go? Like people that,
Yes, there is a borrowing and it's taken out as needed.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes.
Why did the board not disclose to the landowners on March 15th the interest rate that you guys are going to be paying?
Suzanne, you're
Or
more.
the interest, I'm asking why the board did not tell the landowners. This is your meeting. Why has the board withheld the fact that we are borrowing for $3.5 million from the Royal Bank at 3.49%? That works out to $2 million in interest over 25 years on top of a $4.2 million treatment plant. Why did the board, who knew this, they had this information March 15th. In my mind, it is completely unacceptable. Our duty is to spend your money fiscally responsibly. You have a duty to know how much interest you're paying. Even a payday loan place tells you how much interest you're going to pay. Why did this, so my question to you, Chair, why did you unilaterally decide to not disclose that information, which was readily available, to the landowners?
That's a good question. It's not out on the website? No. Well, I guess we better put it out there since you said it. Okay.
I want the whole executive report posted, which was dated March 15th. Did any of you know you were paying $2 million on top of $4.2 million? No. Yeah. So that is unacceptable, really.
Okay, you have a good question there and about interest. Can you tell me, Trustee Calder, can you find a better deal on interest?
I sure can. Thank you for asking that question. I sure can. Do you want to hear where?
I would love to know where.
Hot diggity, this is a fine day where the chair asked me a question that I have an answer to. So, here we go, folks.
Just answer.
Absolutely. We could have received 80% of $4.2 million in infrastructure grants. And the rest of it we could have gotten for 2 percentage points below prime, which is 3.49. Yes, we could. And that is why we are proposing to join the regional district. That is why the ministry supports improvement districts merging, becoming a service area of the regional district so that they can get infrastructure grants and municipal financing. So thank you very much.
Susanna, could you
Jen-
let Susanna?
I am not finished. Furthermore, the motion to send that letter to the CBRD was made by this board and passed in November of 2017. Okay? So we've already wasted close to 2 years waiting for this to happen. We were informed by the ministry that we had to wait till after the municipal election. So we did. The municipal election occurred October 2018. We waited. The letter could have been sent to the CBRD. The process initiated for merging with the CBRD, there's actually funding. $25,000 is given by the government for that purpose, to study the pros and cons of merging. This is incredibly important. You are entitled to that information because it's going to save you money.
And to withhold that information by this board is unacceptable.
This is terrible.
Really unacceptable. So, furthermore, the letter from the ministry, excuse me,
This is question
It-
time. This is, no.
I am answering the question. The letter from the ministry stated two things. The letter from the ministry stated two things. We had to wait until the municipal election was passed in 2018, which we've done. We also have to wait until the treatment plant is underway. Well, it is absolutely underway. And many of us, myself included, have received letters from the ministry, from Brent, from the ministry, on this question, saying that the ministry is absolutely fine with entertaining the idea of conversion. So it is overdue. So thank you again, Chair Harrelson, for asking the question. We could have paid, without borrowing one penny, we could have paid for this water treatment plant.
Mr. Chairman?
Susanna, I received a letter from the ministry, and it's well known that the minister in Victoria, the minister in charge, stated quite adamantly that that filtration plant had to be built and in operation.
No, it does
before
not
they
say
would
that. No,
consider-
you're lying.
No,
The
I
chair,
am not
point of
lying.
order, the chair is lying.
That's
The
enough of
chair
that.
is lying. I have seen the letter.
Mr.
I have, point of order, point of order. The chair is lying. I have seen the letter. It
Mr.
does
Chairman.
not say that. Does not say that. Show the letter. Where's the letter?
I'll get you.
Mr. Chairman,
bet.
may I please?
Yes, go right ahead.
With all due respect, I would encourage, I'd like to bring you back to the purposes of the annual general meeting as it's prescribed in the Local Government Act and in your own letters patent. And really, I'd like to encourage you to give, this is the opportunity, when you read the letters patent, for the public to ask questions. If we're not in a position to provide answers, we can certainly record that and provide them at a next ensuing meeting. The purpose of the AGM is not so much to get into debate between trustees. So I would encourage you strongly to redirect the focus of this portion of the meeting back to the floor, give the public every opportunity to ask questions, and really, if you are in a position to answer those questions, to answer them. If not, we move to refer those questions to a future meeting. So with respect, I would encourage you to sort of limit the debate and the discussion amongst yourself at this meeting. Certainly in a future meeting, that's totally more legitimate to do that.
So I agree. Could we conclude by, Ted, the chair said he would bring the letter forward, that could be brought forward to the inaugural meeting, the letter that he was referring to, where it states clearly by the ministry that the water treatment plant must be completed.
Before they would.
Yeah, so I would like to see that letter. So is there agreement that that letter will be produced
Yes.
next week? Thank you.
Posted on the website.
Yeah, it doesn't say completed.
Bring yours too.
It doesn't say completed.
Mr. Elliott, go ahead.
Yeah, let's change subject a little bit. The water infrastructure agreement contained provisions for the land to be transferred to the UBID. I believe by October, a fully serviced lot is supposed to be transferred to UBID for the construction of the new fire hall. To the best of your knowledge, are we on track to receive that land from Union Bay Estates?
Yes, we are on track to receive that land. That will happen when Union Bay Estates gets their permits to go ahead. That will come to us for a dollar.
Mr. Chair, the water infrastructure agreement did not premise the transfer of that land on Union Bay Estates doing whatever it's going to do, which could be 2 years from now. That land was part of that water infrastructure agreement, and it's very clear in that water infrastructure agreement that that land is to be transferred, and it's not only in the water infrastructure agreement, it's also in the master development agreement with the CBRD. So why are you now saying that it will happen when Union Bay Estates proceeds along whatever path they're proceeding along? I'm just curious why we've changed that, and did somebody change the water infrastructure agreement to allow that to happen? Could you answer that, please?
I can't answer that for the simple reason that's between Union Bay Estates and the regional district. They're the people you'll have to talk to.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, the water infrastructure agreement is between Union Bay Improvement District and what was formerly Kensington Isle Developments, not the CBRD.
Well, the CBRD also has the ability to turn around and issue permits even if it takes them 11 years to do it.
I think there are many people who would resent that, Mr. Chair. I think totally out of order making a statement in a meeting like this.
Well, that's fine. That's your opinion.
You didn't
Yes.
answer the question. I'm sorry. The landowner had a very fair question about our potable water agreement. You didn't answer it. It's about our water agreement, Mr.
I'm not
Mr.
talking
Harris.
about water.
That's what he wants.
Land.
That's what the landowner was asking about.
Susan?
Susanna.
Suzanne, sorry.
Are there any further questions from the public?
Yes, have you noted the last question done?
Yes.
Yes,
So
So
clearly,
we will see that in writing somewhere.
they have been noted, yeah.
Yes.
this lady has a hand up.
Go ahead, please.
There was some question about the drought area and all of the fire hazards that the forest around us will have. And there is a government brochure that tells you how to prepare your home so that it doesn't, and it doesn't have, you know, you prevent as much as you can so it doesn't catch on fire if there was an infrastructure. And I was wondering if the improvement district could get some copies and make it available to those that want to read up on it. I believe it's on a website too, but I'm not 100%. And the other thing was about the water sprinklers. And I purchased one for my son-in-law up north. And up north, they encourage everyone to use them. And they will save homes that have, they will make a bigger effort to save people who have made the effort to save their homes than the ones who have done nothing to help. In town here, if you're in an area where you've got a lot of trees around you, it might be something you could consider. It's only $150. They might have gone up since the last time when I bought. But when you figured what your home is worth, it's not a big outlay. You can check with the fire department and see whether your home is at greater risk. And also, it will impact your fire insurance if you get one of those. So, just a little piece of information for the hot coals one.
Thank you. Mary?
Back to the water infrastructure agreement. Why did the board negotiate from 4 acres for the firewall down to 1 hectare? When all this time, all these years, Kip has always promised 4 acres for the fire department.
That's a good question.
I know it is.
Mary has good questions.
But again, how much is 4 acres worth in today's market?
That's not my question. My question is, why did you negotiate down?
I never negotiate.
Well, you have other trustees there that negotiated. I'm asking you.
That was before my time, so I can't answer that question. Peter, can you answer that question?
Well, it was agreed at the time, 4 acres would have been ideal. However, when you take into the access road into the property and offsets, you end up with 2.2 acres, which is more than that.
So why did you negotiate down from 4 acres is the question?
Because it wasn't going to fit,
4 acres wouldn't fit.
Not into the general development plan.
What general development plan?
Well, that was approved by the CBRD.
Are you talking about Union Bay Estates, Kip?
I'm talking about the CBRD that approved this general development. We
What
had some,
the general development plan,
yeah.
what are you referring to? What?
I think he's referring to the master development.
Sorry, yes, you're master development.
The master development agreement was in 2010, it was revised in December 2018.
Okay.
You negotiated in October of 2017, and you negotiated down.
That's right.
Kip offered 4 acres, and you
No,
negotiated down.
Kip did not offer 4 acres. He threw out a figure of 4 acres.
Excuse me, the letter that you got when Carol Molstead was chair on June 7th, 2016.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
You brought back a letter from Brian McMahon
Yeah.
where he says right in there, in addition to the 4 acres that we've always agreed to for the fire department, he was getting 4 acres of land for the water treatment.
Well,
So why did you negotiate down?
because it wasn't practical for him to give us the full 4 acres.
Your concern shouldn't be about practical for him. You're not representing him,
I'm
you're
sorry,
representing
I'm
us.
trying to answer your question.
How
Okay?
can it not be practical?
It wasn't, because when he took in, when they looked at the 4 acres, he hadn't taken into account the road access and the offsets that were required. And when we looked at it, we realized we probably didn't need 4 acres anyway. 2.2 acres was more than adequate.
So he offered you 4, he said, well, no, we don't need 4.
Well, he didn't offer us 4. He threw that out there as a preliminary, okay?
And when this developer showed up, he promised $17.4 million in 2005. And now what have we
I don't know anything about
We
that.
got 4 acres of land and it downsized, it negotiated down. Plus, why is Malari paying over 25 years instead of 20 years on this loan?
Because it meant that we wouldn't have to overburden the taxpayers here with additional parcel tax.
When you brought in this agreement in 2017, you said at that meeting, Trustee Watson said, and we're doing all this without raising your parcel taxes.
We didn't. We haven't yet, but we will have to. Okay?
So again, it's another thing we're listening to.
Mr. Elliott, yes. Here.
Jim, go ahead.
One more question, and I don't expect we have the answer to this because you're not the technical person. We've heard about the idea of putting sprinklers on your roofs to protect for interface fire. Could somebody please confirm that the new water plant will be capable of handling fire flows, not just domestic water usage flows? Because in the event we do have a large fire in the community, I want to know what the plan is in order to provide enough water to fight fires, because the reservoir will go empty very, very quickly, and I seriously doubt 14 liters a second is anywhere close to meeting fire flow demand in the event of a large fire. But could you please find that out from the engineers and get back to us?
Yeah, I will, Jim. That is in the engineering. You have a very vital point there. Yes, sir.
Can you let us know whether Union Bay Estates received development credits in return for the acreage for fire station and for the water treatment?
That's in our potable, I don't believe so, and I believe that that's, Jim? Did you hear the question? Sorry, because I think Jim could, that was in our potable. The potable water agreement, the potable water agreement needs to be posted online so that people with these kinds of questions can look to the agreement. Why was the agreement, why is it not online? Should I add that as a question? Because that landowner has a very valid, very serious question, and the answer is,
Mr. Chairman, we recorded the question and the supplement.
thank you.
Yep. The reason that I asked that question is because it is out there that Kensington, Union Bay Estates, gave us all this donations. But did they really give us it, or is it in a development credit? Because that's the way it was before.
It's
They
not
were
going to
giving us
develop
land.
It's not in the
No,
deed,
he
he
does not.
donated it to us for $1. Each
Yeah.
parcel of land was
Okay.
given to us with no other attached,
So no forgiveness on
no-
lot charges.
Yeah, it's $1 per piece of property.
And
Because
that's,
that wasn't the way it was
And
a
I
few
mean,
years ago.
that's quite a lot of dollars in today's world, so. And actually, Cumberland's building a new fire hall on 2 acres of land, and they actually feel they have too much land. And so there's taxes, there's maintenance. So if you look at Cumberland's fire hall, it's state of the art, they're on 2 acres of land.
They paid over $500,000 for.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
400 and the price of one lot in Union Bay Estates.
two more questions here.
Let's go ahead over here, far,
That's what we got.
fellow behind the lady here.
Yeah, more than the last one.
I think that when you're talking about 1.4 acres, that wasn't made up plan to do and increase a training center, but I think when you look at it, there's already 2 beautiful training centers here in the valley. So I think Union Bay said, we don't need that much land.
Well, Comox agreed that Union Bay Fire Department can use their training center at any time.
There was another question?
Yes, sir.
Hi, as a new member of this community, I'm curious where if there's obvious contentious points being debated here. What would be the appropriate source to read up on these various agreements? Are these all listed on Union Bay?
No, they should be.
So where could one access this information to understand what's on
The website.
No, it's not. It
It's
should
on my
be.
plot, I'll think
The
you-
potable water agreement is not on the website, it should be.
It's on my blog.
There you go.
So, the administrator should post the water agreement, I don't know why it's not on the website. What is on the website, which is well worth reading, is, in August 2017, the facilitator, Jim Madison, was appointed by the government to help us negotiate the potable water agreement, which should be on Union Bay's website. And that is a 30 or 40-page report. And Jim Mattison, Mattison, and it's called Safe and Clean Water for Union Bay. It is well worth reading. And interestingly, his recommendation was that we merge with the CBRD so that we could access grants and infrastructure. But it gives a whole history of the water, which is very, very complex and convoluted. We have a very unique lake, which has some very unique attributes. So yeah, I would direct you to that.
Mary, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. Who's the parliamentarian?
Mr. Mason.
I should have asked you, is it, so you're an expert on Robert's rules?
I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I've worked with them for a number of years.
And do you know if it's in Robert's rules that a chair can act unilaterally?
Can a chair act unilaterally? Well, my experience on that is in certain circumstances, yes, but it very much goes back to the statutory requirements of what the Local Government Act may say, what your letters patent may say, what even your own procedure bylaw and your policies may say. In some circumstances, on some issues, yes, a chair can and has authority to act unilaterally.
So can you you noted other people's questions, can you note my question where I asked the chair where he could direct me, and he says it's in Robert's rules? And I'd like to point out that in January 2018, Chair Faganello sent you this board a letter, and in there, one of the things she says is that the chair does not have authority to, none of the board can act unilaterally. It's a board that's supposed to act as a body.
Yeah.
So I like that.
So can I respond to this, Mr. Chairman? So I spent a lot of time on governance. So